We met Charlie Lee a couple of months ago at the blockchain cruise, and we had a very nice talk. And we talked to him about Litecoin being digital silver to Bitcoin's gold. Do you agree with that? And how does Litecoin, in your opinion, meet the sound money model, which Charlie is advocating, and which necessary features does it have?
I'll start with the first thing, the silver to the gold. It's not a phrase I like to use because it kind of suggests that Litecoin needs Bitcoin in order to be relevant, which is completely untrue. Litecoin stands tall purely by itself as very sound money, as Charlie describes. It has huge amounts of liquidity and volume in the markets for people to be able to transact with it. Tens of thousands of transactions are being made across the network daily, and hundreds of millions of dollars are being moved across the network daily. It's fantastic as a form of money because it serves and does this few things very well. It doesn't attempt to go out of its way and do smart contracts built directly into a thing like Ethereum does, because we can see how that can lead to disaster. You can end up slowing your network down, dropping nodes off a network. Litecoin is sound money because it focuses on doing one thing, and it does it very well. And it is more of a complement to Bitcoin than a competitor.
And is Litecoin aimed at becoming a massively adopted payment system and a massively adopted payment instrument, and how can that be achieved?
Yes, it is aimed at becoming a payment solution globally, and in many ways it already is. It's, like I say, doing so many trades and transactions all over the world daily. People understand how powerful this technology is, and they're adopting it. There's only a handful of cryptocurrencies which are listed on every single major exchange out there, and those three are Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. Out of those, two are sound money, Bitcoin and Litecoin, and people understand that. And of course, you have institutions such as the New York Stock Exchange and their parent company ICE Markets, which are launching Backit, which is an institutional platform purely for being a custodian and service for digital currencies. It hasn't said which it's going to be listing, but I think it's very safe to say that for where it's going, Bitcoin and Litecoin are going to be in that list. And they're not the first. There's many others joining them. Gemini are doing something very similar. Coinbase have been doing something very similar. And it will just keep growing in this fashion. I know many people from talking in Switzerland, there's banks out there which are trying to work with the authorities to become a custodian of people's digital assets, because they understand that there's a huge need and interest in wanting to use this technology and move money globally. And Bitcoin and Litecoin do that very well.
Do you work with governments?
I don't, but I have some connections to people who are close with advisors within government. For example, the UK has recently started a cryptocurrency task force.
Okay.
And
sounds very powerful.
It's not necessarily as powerful as it sounds. Since we had the budget recently, it's just a group of people set up to kind of question the public and businesses in the space about what they want to see happen with this technology in order to better facilitate and better make the United Kingdom a place for this to thrive. I know people who are wanting to reach out to them, and I would love to work with them to help try and influence that for a positive way.
What makes Litecoin Foundation different from that Bitcoin Foundation in terms of structure, of the goals that you set?
Well, the problem with the Bitcoin Foundation, it's not the same Bitcoin Foundation we see now. The original one was back in 2013. It was basically a lot of people became astronomically rich very quickly because people donated thousands of Bitcoin to this entity that suddenly got a load of money when it all rose up, and they spent it very recklessly. Of course, then they brought in Bruce Fenton, who became the executive of the Bitcoin Foundation. He audited it and cleaned it up a lot, but it hasn't really been able to recover its name or its standing it had. But in many ways, the Bitcoin Foundation is not very important. Such as the Litecoin We're just something set up to help support and push adoption of the technology within institutions and businesses at all levels and advocate for it. Litecoin should exist completely separately of us. We don't control development, we don't do anything like that. We sponsor people to work on the core Litecoin code, but we do not direct them, we do not tell them what to do. We're not investors, banging on the door saying, where's the return, why isn't Litecoin going up in price?
And what's the connection between Litecoin Foundation and Litecoin Core, the development?
Litecoin Core is a completely separate team. There is some overlap, of course. For example, Xinzi Wang is a director of the Litecoin Foundation, but he also does, in his free time, contribute some code to Litecoin Core. So does some person called Lotion. He is an anonymous developer who we also sponsor, and he works on some Litecoin Foundation products as well, such as Loaf Wallet. But we never force them or tell them what to do. And then we have a final one who actually leads development of Litecoin Core, who is called Adrian Gallagher, and he's based in Australia, and he doesn't do anything for Foundation. We just pay him donations and money we have coming in to sponsor him to keep working on the product. So the better we can distance ourselves in many respects, the stronger Litecoin will be. If a foundation goes off, it will be completely fine. There's always someone developing it. Charlie does not code Litecoin. He hasn't done so for a while. It's been Adrian and his team of people who are separate from us. So people can be very confident that if we were to disappear, we are not that integral to Litecoin.
How did you get involved in the Litecoin in the first place?
I got involved in the way many people did, the price, back in 2013. It was actually with Bitcoin, because it was just breaking past $1,000 for the first time. I'd heard of it before, then it's about $40 or around there. But it was being featured more in publications and the news, which is a fantastic way to drive awareness of this stuff. So I mainly got involved because of this asset that sounds very interesting and it's going up in price like most people do. But unlike most people, I stuck around. I'd begun teaching myself a lot about what this is and why it's very important. And part of that was me making videos on YouTube in the early days. So I have an entire section of educational videos which I made just trying to break down all this stuff which fascinated me about technology and explain why it's so good.
Do you still do that videos?
I don't have the time. Okay. I wish I did,
Would you do that?
I would do if somebody wants to do all the editing. That's where all the time takes. It's fine to sit in front of a camera, but you've got to write a script, get it onto a computer, film it myself. I didn't have a tripod, I just put a camera on some books, made my own little teleprompter with a photo frame. You have to edit it, color correct, it takes ages. And then someone comes along sitting in their bedroom saying, Bitcoin is going catastrophic, you need to buy now. 10,000 times as many views. So it was a passion project, but I simply don't have the time anymore. And in many ways, it's much better to promote cryptocurrency and Litecoin like this with other people.
Do you think that crypto community needs to educate public and governments more about how does blockchain technology work, about its benefits, and how do we do that?
I think governments should be paying a lot more attention to people involved in cryptocurrency than opposed to hedge funds and banks and certain businesses like we see in the news. But then again, we also need to be focused on the right people in cryptocurrency. There's a lot of people who are very dubious, and there's a lot of people who are very, very notable and trustworthy in this space. Of course, Andreas Antonopoulos. Everyone would, I would hope, unanimously say he is a fantastic role model and speaker for cryptocurrency, and we should be listening to him because his understanding of this technology surpasses even mine, and I'd reckon everybody else's, apart from maybe a few.
What do you think, which challenges does blockchain industry facing right now? Which are the main challenges that we have to overcome?
I don't know. I think the main challenges are a lot of infighting, just in cryptocurrency. A lot of people wanting to fight and promote, but that's completely fine. It's a free market. If people want to fight, they can do whatever they want. I disagree with it, and I like to stay out of it. Or I treat it very jovially and have fun with people like that, not take it too serious. I don't think there's any serious issue. I think we're going to be completely fine.
How do you see people using digital cash, digital assets in, let's say, like 15 or 20 years from now? What's the ideal scenario?
Ideally, I think it will be seamless and very much invisible. I had an interview just before now, and I kind of explained that I'm in Lisbon right now, but my bank only holds sterling. If I want to go out and buy something from one of the food trucks stationed out here, I can do so. I don't have to hold euros. It's invisible. I don't care how it works. These are just instruments of value to me. And I believe the adoption is really going to come from institutions realizing that this makes their business far more attractive to their customers. And again, that's being driven by competition. You have ice markets with Backit, Gemini, and all these people trying to race to be the first people to do this, because they understand that if you can give your customers globally settled payments like that for pennies, they don't care what it's using, they just care that they can do it. I don't think most people care to stick around within cryptocurrency beyond just for speculation. People like to get rich quick, and that's completely fine, but I believe the real adoption is going to come from invisible usage of it. I'm not going to know that I'm using cryptocurrency necessarily. I mean, I will, because I'm into that kind of side of it, but the average user, say my mother, she will just be able to say, oh look, I've been able to send my family on the other side of the world in Australia some money, and my bank will settle it like that, or this institution has settled it for me like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with institutions being involved in this way. People like to rail against them and say, oh, it's awful, it's decentralized, it should always be this, but the currency is decentralized. The services built on top of it, they don't have to be decentralized, they can be centralized. This is what matters, the layer one. Everything on top of it can be whatever. And again, it's permissionless. No one's forcing them to go through one of these institutions. But I think out of their own free will and choice, a lot of people will. And I think that's where we're going to see a lot of adoption of this technology. It's going to be invisible, built in by these people to better their own companies.
Speaking of adoption, which blockchain and smart contracts application do you see the most perspective other than cryptocurrencies? Digital identity, supply chains, voting, healthcare maybe?
Yeah, you touched on a few things there. So I know a few people doing health projects on the blockchain, they're pointless. Supply chains, pointless.
Why?
And I'll tell you. Supply chains, who verifies that this data is real? Well, am I going to go to the organisation where, I don't know, they've picked the wheat and going to verify it myself and put it into a blockchain? Or is a company going to verify it and put it onto a blockchain? And at that point, what's the incentive model to secure this blockchain? Why would I do that? If you're the only person validating it and telling me it's real, it's just a database. You've made a worse database. This is why people who try and do supply chains and say we're going to revolutionize this with the blockchain, we're going to revolutionize that with the blockchain, they don't really understand what they're doing. And I think a lot of people get caught up in the hype that they're just going to revolutionize all these industries, but they're not, because ultimately it's pointless. There's only two reasons I see us needing blockchains: money and identity. So the identity factor is one of the reasons I actually joined Zulu Republic as well, because they're creating an identity solution. So and there's an incentive method here for it to be secured, so it does work. If I want to verify something about a person, say if everything's going to be automated in the future, which is the way it could be going, if I go to a checkout and it says, hang on, you're trying to buy some alcohol, Are you over 18? If I can scan a digital passport with my identity that knows I'm over 18 and can be validated, then that's very powerful, because I can just go to this machine. It doesn't have to know how old I am. It just returns valid. You're not doing anything illegal in this country. This person is reasonable to serve. You don't need to hire these people, and it's kind of scary, of course, for automated future. But digital identity will take a huge step in pushing automation to a whole nother level. I gave another example of, say I want some insurance. I can put all these companies who are centralized on this blockchain, and I can put out a request onto the network and say, hey, this is the requirements that are requested by people. Return to me an offer for car insurance, for example. And within a second, because it's all automated, I can go, okay, it's all this. And within another 5 seconds, I can say, okay, I'll go you. And it's done. The forms filling out, the people, all this stuff to check and verify, it's gone. The money saved for these companies will be astronomical, and it's kind of scary for, like I say, job prospects, but identity is really the next big thing for me besides money, because even then, with health data, you can attach it to identity. It doesn't need its own chain. People are wanting to attach art to its own blockchain. It's identity. I've attached it to my identity. If I want to be able to sell it on and prove it's a real thing, well, look, it's been verified. I was the owner. It's come from that owner to this owner to that owner. It's not hidden on a black market. It's real. And it all falls under identity. 2 things. Money, identity. Nothing else. For now. Unless someone proves to me there's some other reason we need a blockchain.